90% of Hollywood properties are worthless. Let me explain. Hollywood has a hoarding problem, and they're missing out on millions because of it. So if you look at the balance sheets of major studios, Disney, Warner Brothers, Universal, all that palaver, you will see that billions of dollars sit on the balance sheets as intangible assets. They will also call it intellectual property, the kind of thing, like titles of their stuff, their stories, fictional characters, fictional worlds, all that kind of thing. They consider these to be economic assets, and they treat them as if they're bars of gold locked in a vault, guarded by high-priced lawyers, ready to sue anyone who so much as hums a theme tune. But here is the cold hard truth. 90% of those intangible properties are worthless. They're worth less than nothing because they cost money to protect, but they don't and never will earn another penny. So let's do this in two halves, okay? First of all, what they're doing wrong, and secondly, what they could do right, and it would be a game changer if they did. So let me get into it, okay? First off, the industry has conditioned themselves to believe that every movie is a potential franchise starter or franchise reboot, as if every character could get a spin-off, every backstory could get a prequel, and maybe that 80s flop deserves a gritty reboot. But the market is screaming the absolute opposite all the time. They're just movies that were made once, are gathering dust in a streaming back catalogue somewhere. And how many old movies do you go digging out on streaming services? Honestly, right? Disney may have thousands of hours of content going way back to like the 1950s. But if you've got Disney Plus, do you watch much of it? Like, any of it? If they was to stop coming up with new titles, would you still pay for access to all of that historic stuff, the classic stuff? You wouldn't pay a penny for it. And if you had to pay per view everything that's on streaming content, how much would you pay to watch Bedknobs and Broomsticks or Disney's Robin Hood? I mean, don't get me wrong, perfectly good movies. They were nice. I enjoyed them, watched them several times. But would you pay to watch them again? Have you even watched them on Disney Plus, where it doesn't cost you anything? And yet they not only consider these things assets, they employ lawyers, they pay them to make sure you don't get too close to these IPs. Think about the sheer volume of IP owned by studios like Paramount or Sony. Thousands of titles. How many of those actually have, out of all of them, merch potential? How many people are lining up to buy action figures from some mid-budget legal thriller from '97? These properties, they're done making money. They cost money to store on the servers, they cost money to deliver them to you should you stream one in the unlikely event, and they cost money to protect them legally, but they make nothing in return. It's like they're hiring the A-team to protect a graveyard. The irony is that by being so protective, studios are actually ensuring that their IP, their intangible assets, stay worthless. And this is where we get to part two, okay? So how it could be. Just imagine, picture this, right? Okay. Imagine if they stopped treating IP like a state secret and started treating it like a potential resource. Picture this, okay? 2 live-action animated movies come out next year. You know the type, like fully CG, it's a cartoon, but it looks real, so it's considered live action. One of them is a story of a dog and a cat raised together in a home, but when they're very young, they get separated. When that home catches fire, they're separated for the rest of their lives until, after each having had to live on the streets, they meet again years later. The cat is surviving alone in an alley somewhere, living out of bins, but the dog has joined a pack, and his initiation into the pack is to kill a cat, and this one's been chosen. Oh, the conflict. The other movie is a remake of Disney's The Fox and the Hound, which is pretty much the same story. Now, imagine, okay, follow me on this, imagine they both have the same standard of cast, the same quality of animation, and they're both being reviewed with exactly the same score by critics and audiences. Would The Fox and the Hound do better simply because it's a remake? Would its history as a beloved Disney classic, would that actually translate into nostalgia money? No, of course not. As a property, it has no value anymore. So going up against the same basic idea made by someone else, well, its status as pre-existing would be meaningless, worthless. So what, instead of hiding their properties away so that people need to make similar things, Disney had an ongoing policy of allowing any other filmmaker to lease their properties. Any except the big, golden goose, massive franchises. Forget those for a minute. But imagine if all the big studios, Warner Brothers, Paramount, MGM, Fox, all of them, they opened up their mid-tier library, the stuff they're not using, to independent filmmakers. Not for free, but for a reasonable licensing fee and a back-end percentage. Let an indie director with a unique vision take a crack at a forgotten sci-fi property from the 70s. Let a small animation house build a short series based on a cult classic character that hasn't seen the light of day in 20 years. The studio takes zero financial risk by doing this. They don't have to fund the production, they don't have to manage the marketing, and they don't have to pay for even the catering. They got no outlay whatsoever. They just sit back, and if it fails, they lose nothing. But if it succeeds, they collect a check for an asset that was previously doing nothing but costing them server space. Now, let's be realistic. If Hollywood opened the gates, an awful lot of these properties would still languish. A lot of them, they just don't really have much life left in them, even as an idea anymore. Most stories just don't have the legs to run forever, but for that other, 10%, 20%, 30%, it will be a second lease on life. And I don't know about you, but I'd love to see the kind of creative risk-taking that committee-led Hollywood is too afraid to take. And if this happened, we'd get to see forgotten gems polished into modern hits. We would see worthless IP turned into genuine revenue streams. Everybody would be a winner. It's time for the studios, I say, to stop hoarding the dust. Give the keys to the creators, all creators, and let the audience decide what is actually worth keeping. Because right now, big studios, the vaults are full of stuff that has empty value. And that's it. Rant over. My ramble is done. Feel free to let me know in the comments. I mean, am I wrong? Am I right? I know I'm killing originality. No new ideas if we can remake stuff from the 40s or whatever. I don't know. Give me your thoughts. Tell me what you think. What property would you like to see rebooted? I would love to see a brand new take on Blake 7. That's just me, sci-fi guy. But anyway, get in the comments. Let me know what you think. And don't forget to hit like, share, subscribe, all of the lovely buttons that help us to grow the channel somehow. Get on our socials to see what we're doing, and check out the website to see the brand new science fiction that we are making that actually learns this very lesson. Anyway, that's it for now. I hope to see you next time. Thank you so much for listening.